just like we said in the introduction, I will not be doing this alone. We are friends, and of course we have colleagues across the country interested in what will be happening in Anambra tomorrow. But of course we kick the ball and set the ball rolling today. I'm being joined in the studio by people with vested interest in all this to make sure that we have a smooth sail tomorrow. We have Victoria Etamesi, the Director of Voter Education and Publicity of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
And of course, our public affairs analyst who has been monitoring events in Anambra, Jide Ojo, joins us as well in our studio. Jide, thank you for joining.
Cesar, it's my pleasure. Good evening, Nigerians.
And shortly, of course, we'll be in our Lagos Network Center where we'll be joined by the Chief Superintendent of Police, Benjamin Udein, who is also the first Public Relations Officer. Once we get in touch with him, I will also be, of course, he's there now, so he will be joining us as well. And of course, in Anambra studio, we also have guests ready to also, be a part of the exercise. Will be joining us, of course, we'll be getting their interventions pretty soon. So let's set the ball rolling very quickly to, of course, acknowledge the gentlemen right there in Anambra studio, and of course the guests from our television stations across. Of course, as I told you, we'll be joining Lagos, we'll be joining Anambra shortly. We would also, of course, be giving all our introductions. But let's, as a way of first intervention, let's INEC give us an idea of what has been happening for the past few weeks run up to this election. Of course, like I said in the introduction, this is more or less what set the tone for off-season elections in Nigeria. And here we are again as the cycle again begins in Anambra State.
Okay, so you have the calendar of activities, which is normally released 360 days to an election. And that was released in November 13th of 2024. That set the ball rolling for this election. And in the calendar of activities, we have 13 activities clearly lined out. As at midnight of yesterday, the 12th activity had been ticked off. And so the pending activity now is the conduct of the election itself, which is tomorrow. So we're good to go. Every other thing that needs to be put in place has been put in place. So a couple of months ago, we started the continuous voter registration in order to take care of those who had turned 18 after the 2023 general elections. And that was done. And then the register was given to the political parties, because that is also one of the activities. Primaries have been conducted, and that was what threw up the candidates for the parties. A few weeks leading to this election, 2 weeks ago to be precise, the Commission embarked on a readiness assessment exercise to the state, to Anambra State, to verify the extent of work that had been done to ensure that everything was going on well. And in the course of that visit, which was led by 4 national commissioners of the commission, there was mock accreditation, there was a meeting with the ICSES, that's the Inter-Party Interconsultative Committee on Election Security, and there were visits to polling units to be sure that, to the local government areas, to be sure that everything was in place at the various local government areas. And just last week, this week actually, the Honorable Chairman, and so this was actually his first activity. He embarked on a visit to Anambra State, and he witnessed, or he was a part of, the peace accord signing, which involved all the candidates. 15 of the 16 candidates were on ground to sign the peace accord, and that was on Monday, the 3rd of November. And that was actually symbolic, because usually Mondays are sit at home. But somehow, I don't know how the security structure, architecture had put everything in place. And funny enough, we were there and there was peace and people were moving around. And so we had the peace accord signing on Monday, and on Tuesday we had the final engagement with stakeholders in the state. And so those were the 2 main activities which the chairman superintended over this week in Anambra.
All right, just like, the director, talked about, in terms of INEC's preparedness, from the outside, as an analyst, you've seen that we have a new sheriff in town, Professor Joasha Mopiton. What are your expectations at this time? It will be a litmus test. That's the first, his first taste of what will be around, different rounds of elections. We're still seeing 2 state elections again coming in next year, Ekiti and Osun, of course, but this is the first one. What are your expectations?
Well, I expect that Professor Joash Ojoamupiton will be off to a very good start. It's a kind of baptism of fire. I watched his screening and confirmation in the National Assembly, and when he was making some commitments, I said, I hope this man knows where he's committing to. Because everybody is a coach when you are watching football, until you are in the center, until when you are in the midst of it. Former INEC national chairman at Forum used to tell us, jokingly about, I won't mention his name, a national commissioner who used to be in the civil society. And he was always pontificating, these INEC people, that. So when he was appointed into INEC and he was asked to go and spy over some of the elections, and he saw the fierceness, the humongous challenge that he had to supervise, he went back and said, Chairman, is this what you people go through? So, but you people in civil society, you are very quick to judge and say all things. So tomorrow I'm hoping all will go well. The signs are there that all will go well. Fisayo, 2021, if you recall, there was security threat, palpable security threat. I'm surprised, Victoria was mentioning Monday sit at home. It went beyond sit at home in Anambra. Election could not be conducted in 2 local governments. Ihiala and 1 local government, they have to remobilize with armed forces to go to Ihiala to go and conduct election. As at this time, 4 years ago, IPOB BSN were already saying, vote and die. Yeah. That if you come out to vote, you will die. So all of those rhetorics are no longer there. Then there was the arson on INEC facility 4 years ago, where some of the local governments were touched by arsonists, including the state secretariat, if I recall. Yes. State secretariat of INEC was touched, and some of the beavers have to mop beavers from surrounding states to make up for the lost one. But all of that is not in this election, which is what makes me to be optimistic that we'll get it right tomorrow. The usual suspect is the logistics, which I'm hoping the chairman has made a commitment that will not, delay will not be tolerated. I hope all the critical stakeholders from police to the vendors who have been paid and mobilized to provide vehicles, and learned about 4,000 vehicles have already been procured, or hired rather, and about 30 boats. So, Fisayo, the usual thing is, by this evening, RAC, Registration Area Center, will be activated, which means the over 24,000 ad hoc staff will sleep over at the RAC Center, so that very early tomorrow, with the police escorts, the vendors providing the vehicles, materials already sorted, they can make a quick move from the RAC Center to the polling unit. I hope that whole exercise will be seamless. So I'm very optimistic. I'm an incurable optimist. I want to believe that INEC will get it right, because they have history on their side. After every election, they do retreat. They do, what is it called, audit? Yes. A kind of audit of what went wrong, what went right, how can they improve on what has been done. And when you see the all-circle governorship election from 2023 to date, it has been increasingly better and we are hoping for a better day tomorrow.
All right, let's talk about the stakeholders. Of course, we just mentioned security operations that would make the activity or the event go on a smooth sail. Permit the pun, because we have about 7 riverine communities in that, being part of that process. So let's quickly bring in our guest from Awka. Philip Ayuba is the Deputy Commandant General Operations, Nigerian Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, right there in Anambra State. And then, of course, we have Dr. Henry Duru. He is a political analyst. Let's bring in Philip Ayuba. First of all, tell us exactly what is happening over there in terms of the readiness of you and your men, and some of the cooperations you've had with other security agencies as far as this election is concerned. All right, once we reconnect with Philip, I just saw him there, but once we reconnect, especially the audio intervention, we would get him on. And of course, Dr. Henry Duru also in our studio in Anambra State, in Awka, to be precise, to be part of it. But we'll come back to the studio here, where Mrs. Mercy has been, perhaps raring to go in terms of giving us some of the numbers. It's always nice to have sometimes some of these offices in elections, because the focus of INEC is, solely on those elections, no distractions. At the same time, we have sometimes what some of the voters may see, deem as almost an intimidating presence of security personnel. At this time, almost 55,000, I understand, have been deployed to the state. In spite of all that, do you expect a good turnout based on some of the work you have done in terms of sensitization and all that before this exercise?
Yeah, that is our prayer. That is our expectation. The Honorable Chairman has expressed his worry about the trend in the past. And one of the things he hopes that would happen would be that would have increased turnout this time around. In the last election, you will recall that we had about 10% turnout with regard to the registered voters, and that was really abysmal. So we have done quite a lot of work with regards to sensitization, with regards to mobilization, with regards to engagement at various layers and platforms. We have deployed both social media, both traditional, all sorts. We have tried to engage as many people as possible to put them, to bring to their consciousness and their awareness the importance of their participation in this election. So I want to believe that, yes, security being put in place and adequate sensitization and citizen engagement, stakeholder engagements. The last stakeholder meeting that we held in Awka on Tuesday, that had the traditional rulers in attendance. It had religious leaders in attendance, and the message was, it also had the politicians in attendance and the media as well. The message was that they should enjoin and encourage their citizens and their members to turn out for the election.
All right, thank you for your intervention there. But I understand that our guest in Lagos, CSP Benjamin Hundeyin, is ready for us. If you listen to some of the interventions already in the studio, can you tell us about the readiness of the police? And some are asking, why so many men? Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. Why so many men? That's because we do not want to take chances. We want to ensure that adequate security is provided. We want to ensure that the voters are able to come out peacefully, cast their votes, and also go back to their homes peacefully. So we urge Anambrarians not to feel intimidated by the high number of officers. It is for their own good, and do not forget that officers will not be armed around polling units. So we need at least adequate number of officers to be on ground. And do not forget that we have over 5,000 polling units 5,720 polling units across the 21 local government areas in Anambra State. So we need for these polling units to be adequately manned. So all of these are things we have adequately studied. There are things we have prepared for, and that's why we sent the number of men we sent there to Anambra State. So basically, it's for adequate security of voters, of INEC staff, and for electoral materials.
That there could be any problems, but I hope the morale is high, if you understand what I mean.
Yes, I can confirm that the morale is very high, and that's because the Inspector General of Police, IGP Kayode Adeolu-Egbetokun, ensured that all the resources needed for these men to move from different states to Anambra were provided. No officer was made to bear the cost of moving to Anambra. All the logistics were provided, transport was provided, and also all the allowances these men will be paid for this special duty have also been provided. They've all been asked to submit their account details even before they traveled. So morale is very high because in terms of welfare, the IGP has ensured that the men are well taken care of. So we have nothing to fear. For people that would think that some of these officers might compromise, might be like a bicycle, might be laid back, no, there will be nothing of such. They have been well prepped for this, and we do hope that everything would go fine as planned. Thank you.
Other aspects of what some of the politicians in the state, especially those from perhaps some parties, not some of the biggest ones, but they have said that they are hoping that the police will discourage or what we call, the cycling of eagles and ox on their state when elections are like this, that when it's an off-season elections, all these big people of influence will come into a state and converge on, different, key places in the state. Would police be, discouraging such movement, especially when you have no business in that state?
Movements in the country, so you are free to move anywhere. But if you have no business around the polling units or the collation centers, then you will not be allowed in if you have no business. And for VIPs that would have one reason or the other to move around on election day, we've made it clear that nobody is coming close to the polling units with armed security. In fact, our officers that will be at the polling units will not be armed. That is not to say that we don't have armed officers around. Yes, we do have armed officers around. Intervention squads, rapid response squads will be stationed at strategic locations, but not at the polling units, but close enough to respond if their intervention is needed. So people of influence are free to come to Anambra State. It's part of their right to freedom of movement. But if you have no business around polling units or collation centers, know this, that you would not be allowed near these areas. So the people of Anambra that have expressed these concerns are being assured that there will be no unnecessary and untoward influence in this election.
We will go to Oka now to also catch a feel of what is happening there. Dr. Henry Duru, a political analyst, is right there in our studio in Oka. Doctor, thank you very much for your time. What is the mood in town?
Thank you very much. It is quite intense here. While coming to the studio, I observed in an unmistakable manner that the atmosphere has changed. Everywhere is charged up because of the importance or the significance of tomorrow's exercise. I have seen a massive mobilization of security personnel, just like the police officer there in Lagos studio has stated. I've also seen activities around the INEC headquarters here. As a matter of fact, yesterday, while I was going, place has been cordoned off, so we had to take alternative routes. So I would say that we, the citizens, we, the voters, are ready. We are just looking up to INEC to do their duties, just like the INEC officials in the studio there have actually promised. I would like to believe them, because I've also been part of some of the civil society engagements which INEC has actually had prior to this election. And in one of them, I was actually the keynote speaker. And from the feelers we got from the INEC people, both those of them in Anambra here and those of them that came in from Abuja, they are ready to give us an election that at the end of the day we will all say that the election was credible, was free, was fair, and of course, violence-free. That is it.
A bit so that we put things in perspective. In terms of, if we want to recall what happened 4 years ago and use it perhaps as a spreadsheet to test what will happen tomorrow, what are the things that you would want to tell the man on the saddle now? It's just been there about a month, to understand the lay of the land. What were the issues the last time you had this election, and what would you want INEC to do differently as we move forward?
Thank you very much. The issues that we had during the last exercise, even though I would actually adjudge that exercise to have been largely successful, we had issues of some polling units where there were delays in the arrival of materials or commencement of that exercise. I remember where I came to vote. It took some time for the exercise to start, even though I didn't come quite early. But I think some of those issues were largely isolated, because at the end, when I moved around some of the polling stations around me, I even saw that as early as 2 p.m., some places had actually completed the voting process, counted the votes, and then the result pasted there in accordance with the regulations. And then also, we had the most serious issues of them, or the most serious issue of them all was the security crisis in Ihiala local government area, where the election was actually disrupted. The election could not hold that day, and another day was, in fact, that was what actually made the election to be inconclusive in the first instance, just as the INEC official in the studio there has actually stated. He was right, he recalled rightly, because even that rescheduled election was also threatened, because the military had to engage some of those armed men. I even have a friend who was a government official then who nearly ran into the crossfire, and but he was lucky to have actually survived that. I think once INEC is able to deal with logistics, and then security improves. And one thing that is quite wonderful is that those flashpoints around here, local government area, I believe they are much safer now. Just about 3 weeks ago, I attended a funeral event in one of those towns. As a matter of fact, that town used to be a stronghold of these armed men. And I couldn't believe what I saw going around the town. The town that was practically a ghost town for some years was bustling with activities. People trading, shops opened, and so on and so forth. And I was even told that the very part of that community where that funeral event was held was even the hottest of all the hotspots then. And that just some months ago, or maybe a year ago, you wouldn't have actually imagined such an event holding there, let alone having guests come from different parts of the state and even beyond. So I believe that that issue that actually marred that election around that area of Anambra State will not actually surface this time around. So I believe that when it comes to that, the security agencies now have their duties made a little bit less complex. But in all, the logistical problems that we had the last time, once they are fixed, and then once security issues are actually contained, then I will say that the election that will happen tomorrow would have been much better than what we experienced last 4 years.
Very much, Doctor. Let's move out of the studio a little bit and get a feel of what is happening. I mean, the state Anambra itself, you know, of the official slogan is Light of the Nation. And of course, you know, it was created out of the old Anambra, of course, as it is now, it's a much smaller land mass. The spirit, the people are known for their trade, industry, and innovation, as I can personally attest to. And the people are known for their resilient spirit, which stand as tall as a big beacon, as described by our own reporter Benson Osadebe in this report. We have, you know, so one of our, you know, reporters on there, and I want to believe that is Onitsha. Hopefully, once we get through to her, we will also speak to her. That will be, of course, a live reaction, as we can see the market bustling at the behind her. Once we get in touch with her, we will. She will give us an update of what is happening in Anambra State. I think she's on now, so let's hear from her.
This place, we witness that there is heavy vehicular movement and traffic building up in some strategic locations in the city. We also visited the Onitsha North local government area, where the electoral officer told us that both sensitive and non-sensitive materials have arrived in local government area, and all is set for tomorrow's exercise. And then the security personnel everywhere on the road, there's high security presence everywhere in the city. And then at the popular Opiweka, the parks are busy. You know, the Anambra State government declared today a work-free day so that people can travel to their villages to get ready for tomorrow's exercise. And at the parks, we witnessed that everywhere was busy. People were traveling to their different villages. And back here at the Onitsha main market, the traders are getting ready for tomorrow. You know, this market is one of the largest commercial hubs in the West African sub-region. It witnesses heavy human and vehicular traffic, especially during the weekends, because people come from different parts of the country and neighboring countries to buy and sell here. But tomorrow, this place will be locked. As a matter of fact, in a few hours, all the shops here will be under lock and key. So, how are the traders? How are they prepared to cast their votes tomorrow? What is their preparedness? Are they worried? Are they supportive? I have with me here the chairman of Onitsha Main Market Traders Association, Chijioke Opalugo, to speak to us on the preparedness of the traders to perform their civic duty tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay. I would say I am very, very happy that you want the world to know or hear about the upcoming election tomorrow in Anambra State. We are very, very prepared. In fact, in a few hours now, all the shops we are seeing will be locked. It will be locked till tomorrow to go, and everybody will go and vote. We are very, very prepared because last week a non-governmental organization came to the market, sensitized the market people on how to vote and the need to vote. So I am very happy that everybody is ready to vote.
All right, locking up shops for an Onitsha businessman. What does this mean for you to lock up your shop? What does this exercise mean to you?
When you tell an Onitsha man to lock up his shop, it will be a very big tax. But because of the sensitization of, to the traders, they know the needs to lock up their shop to go and vote. They are very, very ready. They said they will not be disenfranchised this time. They are ready to go and vote. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Chijioke Opalugo. So, as the Onitsha traders join the rest of Anambra people to decide tomorrow who lists them for another 4 years, the market is expected to reopen by next week. It's back to you, Fisayo.
Much, Franklin Oyekachi. I hope you will pick some things up in the market because it will be remain under lock and key, just like you said, in the course of the weekend. And I have to congratulate that chairman, of course, for being able to convince his fellow traders to lock their shop. That is a brave one out there in Onitsha, because I know how, you know, how passionate they are in terms of buying and selling that place. That's a real act of patriotism for Onitsha main market to close. INEC, I think you've been doing a good job, especially sensitizing these people that close your shop so that you can cast your ballot. It's a difficult sell, but they have been able to cooperate. INEC.
Thank you.
All right, let's continue. As we continue on the program, of course, we will still go back to, you know, Oka, where Dr. Drew is waiting, of course, and we also have NSCDC also being a part of it. And, of course, we just saw the bustling background of Angelo Yekachi's live report. Tomorrow, of course, that place will be a little bit deserted. I'm sure there's 1 or 2 polling units not too far from there. But it seems as if the Nigerian now understands what it means, you know, to be a part of this exercise, which is, you know, comes every 4 years, always contested. But the stakes are high. And the traders, who of course, buying and selling is their lifeblood, know that this has to take, there should be stuff to this, just for a temporary moment, to be able to be a part of the exercise. Jide.
Well, Fisayo, you see, it's not as if what's happening in Onitsha tomorrow is anything new. My experience, and I've been covering elections since 1999, my experience is that people will not turn out at their business centers, but they will also not go to vote. Last 4 years, Soludo, Chukwuma Soludo, was elected with 10.24% of the total voting population. 10.24. I hope things are different tomorrow, because according to INEC, and Dr. Drew was mistaking me for INEC, I'm not INEC official. According to INEC, in their latest bulletin, 98.8% of new registrants collected their PVC, which is unprecedented. Across the 21 local government, people turn out. INEC also made it easy for them, because INEC had to extend till last Sunday for them to collect their PVC. Fisher, you remember, once you don't collect your PVC, you are already not going to vote. Mm-hmm. Only those who come out to collect their PVC will vote. But I am appealing to India Anambra that, yes, there may be shutdown or lockdown, but they should not take it as a rest day. They should take it to the polling booth, cast their ballot. I will be so excited if we can get up to 50% of the 2.8 million registered voters coming out to vote tomorrow. That will be another first. Fisayo, Anambra has called, I was on another media channel earlier today, and I read out about 4 or 5 things that Anambra has given the first for Nigeria. The first female acting governor, first state where a governor, sitting governor, was kidnapped, first state where you have off-cycle governorship election kickstarting, first state where, what else? I've forgotten the other
you have
stuff.
time. You have time. We'll come back.
But you see, what we need to encourage them to do, INEC has done its own bit. Civil society organizations have been involved in mobilization. National orientation agencies have done their own bit. It is now for these people to march out tomorrow and ensure that they take advantage of the opportunity to cast their ballot. Interestingly, a number of things also, South Africa is supporting INEC with sign language interpreters, about 30 or thereabouts, to help persons with disability to also participate. So that is also a first one. And the fact that Anambra is also on the map again for, possible, breaking of jinx. The jinx of inconclusive election, because we are hoping, unlike 4 years ago, that this election tomorrow will be conclusive on the first ballot.
All right, I just want, Ms. Etamesi to look at some numbers here. The high collection of, PVCs. And when you look at, some of the areas, the local governments, for instance, Onitsha South, 168,575 number of registered voters. Now, when you come to the number of collected PVCs, you have 168,130 collected. Just 445 that is out there. That means almost everybody has collected. Maybe some, maybe who have not been able to make it back to the state. Some who are probably indisposed, maybe they are sick or something, that have not been a part of it. So we've seen a very high level of number of PVCs collected. Could that somehow, against Jide Ojo's,
pessimism,
not pessimism, but analysis, could we see a different trend this time? Because, of course, there is marked enthusiasm in the collection of PVCs. We've seen some states where it's been advertised, please come and collect your PVCs. This is not the case. Are we likely to now see perhaps a marked improvement in turnout?
That is our hope and expectation. Because after the 4-day window, the initial window that was given for the collection, it was 63.9. And then the commission extended by 5 days. And at the end of that, which was on Sunday the 2nd, we're recording 98% turnout. So I want to believe that the fact that they were interested in collecting their PVCs means that they are interested in participating in the election. Because our message during our voter education interventions was clear. If you do not have your PVC, you cannot vote. And so for us to have this huge number of PVC collection, it is a good sign for us that it is going to be a deviation from what existed. The abysmal 10% turnout, 10% electorate determining who would lead them, and which is unacceptable.
But of course, there are some explanations to that in terms of the background of violence.
We appreciate that. Again, I'm also looking at the analysis of the trend with regard to security, the things that have been put in place, the security architecture that has actually been put in place. Again, going back to the sensitization, stakeholder engagement, just talking to the people and letting them know. And like the new chairman has been saying, that he wants the people of Anambra to own the process, to be the determiners of who would lead them, not just 10% of the citizenry bringing up or throwing up who the governor would be, which was what we had in 2021. So with this turnout, or with this enthusiasm, as you say, with regard to collection of PVC, we expect that there will be increased turnout in participation for the election. And that also would legitimize what it is that we are doing. Because the fewer people that participate, the dent would also be on us. It means that it puts a dent on the credibility, so to speak, and the inclusivity of the exercise. So it works for us, it works for democracy, it works for governance.
All right, before Franklin Oyekachi's live report from the Onitsha market, I was talking about Benson Osadebe's report describing a state, Anambra State, with the official slogan of Light of the Nation was created, carved out of the old Anambra State. And the people have been described as, carving a niche for themselves in trade, industry, and innovation. Let's hear from Benson Osadebe.
Anambra State, nestled in the southeast geopolitical zone of Nigeria, lies on a terrain shaped by the valleys of the River Niger and undulating uplands. Its fertile soil and rich vegetation support abundant agriculture, while the majestic River Niger itself serves as a lifeline to commerce and transportation. Bounded by Delta and Imo to the south, Enugu to the east, and Kogi to the north, Anambra is a crossroads of trade and culture.
The Anambra man is a goal-getter. The Anambra man believes in himself. The Anambra man keeps his eyes on the ball. The Anambra man has a focus. The Anambra man has a target and an agenda. The Anambra man always finishes what he starts. They don't do things halfway and drop it. And that is the Anambra man for you.
They are self-made. That's why you see Nnewi being what it is.
From the bustling Onitsha main market, reputed as the largest in West Africa, to the quiet farmlands of Obaru local government area, Anambra is said to reflect a striking balance between tradition and enterprise. Famed for their industriousness for generations, they have migrated to every part of Nigeria and beyond, often starting with little but building empires in trade, manufacturing and services.
I believe that this state and in general Southeast has enough both manpower, intellectuals and whatever that will drive the economy of this country.
But beyond commerce, Anambra culture remains vibrant as the colorful cultures and sacred tradition continue to bind the people together. Despite challenges of erosion, urban pressure and youth unemployment, the resilient spirit of the people of Anambra State appears unbroken. Their ability to rise above difficulty has become the state's enduring identity. Today, the state thrives on an economic tripod: agriculture, trade, and industry, with industries in Nnewi producing auto parts, plastics, and household goods. With the commercial lifeline of Onitsha markets, Anambra is regarded as one of Nigeria's fastest growing economies. From the banks of the river Niger to the hills of Udi boundary, Anambra's story is one of survival, resilience, and enterprise. A people proud of their heritage and confident in their future. From Oka, Benson, Osadebe, NTA News.
Thank you, Benson. With these flowery words supporting Anambra State, it's regrettable that your name is not on the ballot. I would have casted my vote in your direction because you seem to have all in your palms to particularly, advertise your state in the best possible light. But thank you very much for that. I will go straight to Lagos with CSB Udeyi, who has been waiting to make one or two interventions. We are projecting that hopefully there will be a better turnout tomorrow, and you've been talking about the preparedness of the force, for all that. In terms of, when we have some of these flashpoints, what will the normal, citizen who's just going out to vote, what will they need to do? Are there numbers to call? How do we get the police to areas where maybe their presence is not so heavy to be able to douse any tension?
Thank you very much. You would not even need to get the police to areas where you would need them, because our deployment has been spread across the entire state. And do not forget that we did threat assessments before our deployment. So we actually know the actual places where we would need more officers, where we would need our tactical teams and squads. So people don't even need to look far before they see police officers. And also to ensure that there are no movements, unnecessary movements of maybe thugs or armed men around, there's going to be restriction of movement in Anambra State tomorrow. Total restriction of movement except for INEC staff and essential workers. And it will take effect from 12 a.m. on November 8th. That's this midnight, 12 a.m. and it will be on till 6 p.m. on 8th, 12 a.m. to 6 p.m. There's going to be restriction of movement. So that cuts down the possibility of armed thugs or just thugs generally who might want to snatch ballot boxes. It cuts the possibility of that happening to a large extent. So that's how it's going to be. Police won't be far from you. You might not even need to reach out to anybody, because while we have some police officers that will be stationary, we would also have some others that would be on patrol. So we also, want to once again assure the people of Anambra that adequate preparation has been made for their security. And do not forget that in addition to the 45,000 police officers that have been deployed by the Inspector General of Police to Anambra State, we have sister security agencies also augmenting that figure. So they're also complementing that figure. So absolutely, people have nothing to worry about.
Also, you just took the question out of my mouth, but I will still ask it. What's the, the cooperation like in terms of, with other sister security agencies? You are the lead agency as far as security is concerned in this election, any election in Nigeria. But what is the level of cooperation, like? And of course, apart from providing security, perhaps we'll talk about the issue of ambulances and all that, and what's the, cooperation like with all the other, forces also in the state? You have mentioned the fact that we also have a large presence of other sister agencies as well.
The cooperation is superb. That's the best words to describe it. Very superb. Yesterday at the Anambra State Police Command Headquarters in Oka, there was a meeting of the heads of all of these security agencies. The military was there, the civil defense, the police, of course, who chaired the meeting, and other agencies. So this meeting was held yesterday where everybody was on the same page. Everybody agreed to work together to ensure that there is absolute security for the election. And in addition to this, we are also having our air wing already fully deployed in Anambra. Today, the people of Anambra can attest to the fact that they saw our police helicopters, not just one, helicopters on aerial patrol of Anambra State, which would also be deployed anytime it is necessary. Our marine police too have been fully deployed. Lots and lots of gunboats on the waterways in Anambra to ensure that not just the land, would enjoy good security. The waterways too would enjoy good security. So in terms of collaboration, in terms of synergy, superb is the word to describe it.
Much as CSP Udein, and of course we've been enjoying your interaction with the media. You are giving us the opportunity to see exactly how prepared the Nigerian police forces, and we are excited that your people are on ground, and of course the issue of morale, which you have already spoken to. Let's quickly go to Oka. Dr. Henry Duru is still there. Doctor, you heard from CSP Udein about the readiness of the police in that place. But when you, in terms of your interaction with people, and of course you heard, of course, when we were discussing the issue of collection of PVCs, what would be your expectation at this time in terms of turnout? Are we likely to see a better turnout against the poor turnouts we've seen in the past?
Thank you very much. I will say that it's quite difficult to predict how it's going to turn out tomorrow in terms of voter turnout. Of course, the last election, the last governorship election here witnessed just about 10% turnout vis-a-vis the entire registered voters. And previous elections did not actually perform so well. I think the best was 2007 and then followed by 1999. The others, the turnout has been quite poor, and I believe the last one was the poorest. And I'm just hoping that the curve does not continue to go steep, because if you look at the curve, it appeared that since 2007, it has been going like this way. So, but I don't think that the issue is entirely related to security. Just to relate it to your question coming from the response given by the CSP. Because even before the current security issues that we have had, voter turnout has never been encouraging. And when we even talk about insecurity, if you are using the last election as a yardstick, that insecurity problem, the special problem that we had then, was actually localized to a particular part of the state. So assuming low voter turnout was actually restricted to that part of the state, there is no way we should be talking about 10% voter turnout. We would have had much more. Because I even believe that we have areas, in fact, the area that has the highest number of registered voters, like Idemili North. If we have those areas actually turning up to vote, and the areas affected by insecurity continue to experience low turnout, I wouldn't think that we'll be complaining here about the turnout. But what I will say that is actually giving me hope is that the engagement has been encouraging. The sensitization has been encouraging. There was a time I came out in the evening in my area. I saw some people who were encouraging people to come out and vote. So I believe such engagements will be fruitful. But only tomorrow will tell. I also know that political parties have been trying to encourage people to come and vote for them. That is one of the ways you drive voter turnout. So with all this, I will only hope tomorrow will be different from the last election and, of course, the previous elections. But if we continue to have low voter turnout, maybe we begin to look at some other factors beyond security, like people's perception of the process of election in terms of credibility, and maybe other factors. But as I said before, I'm only hopeful that tomorrow will be different. I don't have evidence that would actually help me to predict how tomorrow is going to turn out, but I'm just hopeful.
All right, we will still come back and still perhaps ride on that, your hope. Hopefully tomorrow we'll see that the numbers will follow the optimism. But let's come back to the director, INEC, right now on voter education. Are the parties doing enough? Because actually this is their show. You are just the umpire.
Yeah.
Are they doing enough to capture the imagination of the people? Or in your experience, has it just become a 4-year festival when the masquerades come out, after that the costumes are returned to the store, as against constant engagement of the people to even, begin to stoke their enthusiasm for the process?
The parties are not doing enough. That has been the bane of the commission, because somehow it's as if the parties expect or believe that sensitizing voters, educating voters, mobilizing voters is a singular responsibility of the commission, which is not so. And they are the greatest beneficiaries, because if you have a huge number of enlightened and informed and educated citizenry, they are the ones that would have people turning out to vote for them. But they are not doing that. Just like you said, they wait once it's close to election time, and then they just come out for their rallies and the rest of it. And sometimes the rallies are not even as educative as it should be. It's more, you see them tending and trending and going towards hate speech and making enemies all over the place with themselves, and looking for how to bring down the other political parties, as against mobilizing structurally and in a civil manner for the citizens to vote for them. So the political parties are not doing enough, and our hands are tied. So for now, we are only able to persuade them. We're having engagements and talks with the IPAC, but it seems as if IPAC does not have a firm hold on the political parties. So we're still...
I say they don't have a firm hold on their members.
Exactly.
Because the IPAC is populated by political parties, and of course the representative of political parties.
But at the end of the day, for now, we're just still persuading and falling back onto suasion to plead with them. We've also been having the talks as to whether to bring in a legal angle to this. to try to twist them to make sure that they take on this responsibility, which they are huge beneficiaries of, and not just leave everything to the commission to run with.
All right, talking about numbers, Anambra State is going up for a crucial governorship election tomorrow, with 16 candidates vying for the top seat. Approximately 2.8 million registered voters. The stage is set for a keen contest. Our own James Francis Obi brings us details on the population and voter statistics, shedding light on the electoral landscape in that state.
According to the 2006 census, Anambra State has a vibrant population of approximately 4.2 million residents across its 21 local government areas, out of which there are about 2.8 million registered voters. This is made up of 168,187 newly registered individuals, comprising 58% females and 42% males. The statement from the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, shows that, notably, business people represent the largest occupational group among voters at 36%, while public servants make up a smaller portion at 0.6%. In terms of age distribution among registered voters, the age group of 18 to 34 years leads with 53%, while those aged 70 and above represent the smallest group at 2.6%. Idemili North stands out with the highest percentage of registered voters at approximately 8.7%, in contrast to Dunukofia, which has the lowest at 2%.
Definitely, the registered voters, it depends on the population. Idemili have the highest because it has the highest population in Anambra State. Insecurity is not only in Anambra. Yes, we have flash areas, but it's not only in Anambra, it's all over the world. But it's not affecting our activities.
Many residents expressed their readiness to participate in the forthcoming election and emphasize the importance of Electoral Commission ensuring that every vote counts.
Because of so many bad experiences that I've been having during the election period, so a lot of persons are always careful on their movements.
People feel that they're always deceived. What's the essence of committing themselves, their time, energy, and what, while whatever their input does not count.
They don't select already the person who will win. So now I make people tired to come and vote.
You see, the person that is there as incumbent will always fight and make sure that he goes for second tenure. There is going to be a party when you know that effort we are making is not producing a required result.
Since the reinstatement of democracy in 1999 under the Fourth Republic, Anambra State has benefited from the leadership of democratically elected governors. In Oka, James Francis Obi, NTA News.
All right, James Francis Obi and some of our respondents, speaking to the issue of apathy and all that. But in your experience, they've talked about their own experiences and why people may not come out, and you have also, referenced that in one of your first interventions. In a situation like this, one would expect that, okay, you come out and then seriously participate, stay with your votes, wait until it's counted, and then you make an impact as against apathy.
In good conscience, INEC is part of the problem. National Assembly is part of the problem. Political parties are part of the problem. Now, let me break it down. We are too simplistic. Let me say the conundrum. There is a conundrum. Anambra is noted for vote buying. And ordinarily, because of high level of vote buying, you should have high voter turnout. But it doesn't. You have high vote buying, but you also have low voter turnout. And this is not peculiar to Anambra. Even I was in Edo in September last year. Ondo, a vote was going for as much as 20,000. But what is the voter turnout? Less than 30%. Now, why did I say INEC is to blame? In other climes, election hold for 12 hours. And I'm not talking about US alone. US have been to US to observe election. In many states, in fact, in many states in US, it's 12 hours. In some states, 13 hours of election. Hours. In Nigeria, it's 6 hours. That's number one. Number two, in other climes, there is no lockdown, no restriction of movement. In Nigeria, you had the CSP saying from 12 midnight
to 6 p.m.
To 6 p.m., there will be lockdown. Meanwhile, when they are registering, many of them register close to their business centers. But they don't live there. They live elsewhere. Just imagine in Abuja, we have daytime population and nighttime population in Abuja. If you register in Wusetu and you live in Suleja or you live in Kefi, can you come and vote on election day when there is lockdown? So, have we done study to show that locking down the state actually increased the threshold of voter participation? The answer is no. So why continue to lock down? You are deploying 45,000. But you still want everybody, you are still wanting movement to be restricted. Meanwhile, INEC also is not doing fair voter distribution.
You speak to that very shortly.
They have 5,820 polling units, but they told us that in 2 polling units there will be no election because there are no voters. Is it that there are no voters there or no voter was posted there? How will you create a polling unit when there are no voters? Because INEC prerogative to put you closest to where you live. So situation where you now have 1,500, 3,000 in a particular polling unit and you have 50 voters in an adjacent polling unit. Meanwhile, the standard operating procedure is that no polling unit should have more than 500. So why is that lopsidedness? When it is INEC, you don't need the legal framework to be altered for you to do that. Then, there is also no provision for early voting. Fisayo, look at the number of UCOM member, people on essential duties who will be at that election. They cannot vote because they are on election duty. All your correspondents who are living and working in Anambra cannot vote because there is no provision for early voting. As early as 2008, when I went to observe election in Ghana, they already have provision for early voting. At least a week to the election, those of you who are going to be on election duty, whether you are a policeman, security agencies, observer, journalist,
medical staff,
all of you, unless you don't want to vote, they will have given you a designated voting point. These are places you go. It will not be across all the polling units, but they will make sure that in each of the local government, you have places where you can go and cast your ballot. These are how threshold of voters can increase. Then there is also the late commencement.
Somebody was just whispering in my ear that if that is provided also, there will also be early alert to do vote buying. But it's all right. You are making points.
The other point that I'm trying to make is that now you find a situation where election does not take place. In the last 2021, I think Iaga Africa said only about 14% of polling units in Anambra opened as at when due. That means as at 8 a.m.
8:30.
No, then it was 8 to 2. It was after that INEC now revised to start election at 8:30 and close by 2:30. Now, what I'm saying is that if you now have a situation, INEC had planned, they said RAC will be activated like today, so that you can move very swiftly from RAC to polling unit. And we that have been involved in training of INEC officials, we always tell them, get to your polling unit an hour before commencement. So by 7:30, you are supposed to be at where you are going to attend to voters, because you need to set up. You need to demarcate the area, source for furniture, tell people, do a small voter education. This is how you vote. This is where you cast your ballot. This is where you complete. Now, situation where at 8:30, and I saw this myself in Oredo local government, in Edo last September, where in Oredo is out of town, you know it. At 8:30, election material is just leaving the rack center, finding their way to polling unit. In such situation, people are already getting disinterested. That what is all this nonsense? I came early because I have other things to do, but 2, 3, 4 hours, election have not commenced in some polling units. These are part of the reason why you find that
let the other guests address some of the issues we have raised. I'll come back to INEC, but CSP Udeyin is in Lagos, and he has several other engagements as well. So I want you to just speak quickly to the issue of the lockdown. In terms of the lockdown, how would you facilitate movement? For instance, will people be allowed to drive from one place to the other, and the movements as well? What exactly does it really mean, this lockdown, in terms of even movement within Anambra State itself, so that we can really, be able to encourage people to go out there and be a part of the process?
The lockdown is not the best, but that's the best we can give in this situation. Like I said earlier, we do what we call threat assessments before we even do our deployment. So that's the best decision that can be taken in this situation. And it was not taken lightly. It was after very due consultation. We just need to do this. And it's not new. This is not the first time this would happen. So people already know about this. So people had enough time to change their registration centers, their polling units. INEC made that provision. INEC made such possible that you move your polling units from beside your business area, like the other speaker said earlier, that some people registered beside their business centers. So you have enough time to move it to a polling unit on your streets, around your house. So people had enough time to do all of this, and we believe that many people have done this because we would not allow that excuse that you're going to your polling unit far away, 3 kilometers away, and you want to drive. No, there will be no movement of such. We know it doesn't happen in other countries, yes, but for our own peculiar situation here, that is what we need to do. So we appeal to people to understand with us. It's in the best interest of everyone. It's in the best interest of democracy. So we urge people to come out tomorrow and go to the polling units close to them. And that's why we're also making these announcements early enough so that if you need to go stay around your polling units, do all of that movement today, so that by tomorrow you just walk up to your polling units to vote. Before I go, I would also like to point out clearly that only federal government owned security agencies will be participating in this election. All state-owned government, all state-owned security agencies will not be allowed to participate in the election security. So back to your question, the restriction of movement is in the best interest of everybody, and if you need to get close to your polling units, please do that today before the restriction of movement takes effect. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. But before we let you go, perhaps you want to say one or two things, speak to any aspect of the elections and your expectations as the Nigerian police from the people, what you expect tomorrow, so that there will be no misunderstanding between your men and people who are going to vote as your last intervention before we let you go.
Very much. I think I've said it all. I would just like to use this opportunity to assure in the Anambra that every necessary measure has been put in place to guarantee their safety and security before, during, and after the elections. So we urge them to come out to exercise their rights and be part of the decision the decision they would take in who would lead them for the next 4 years. Once again, security has been put in place, and we do hope that everything would go as planned. Thank you.
Much thanks for joining us from our Lagos Network Center. We would try and reach you in the course of tomorrow's exercise in terms of situation reports and how your men, your officers and men on ground are, relating with the voters and as well monitoring the exercise. Thank you very much. Let's join our correspondent right there in Oka, Daniel, who's been feeling the pulse of the people and giving us a general mood of anticipation as far as the election is concerned. Over to you.
From the electorate, even as they will move out tomorrow to exercise their civic right. From the INEC angle, the Independent National Electoral Commission has said they've put everything in place, that they are 99% ready to conduct the election tomorrow. From the distribution of sensitive materials, yesterday we were at the Central Bank of Nigeria, where the Form EC8A and the Form EC8B, that is the result sheet, and the ballot papers and the beavers, we are distributed to the 21 local government areas in the 326 wards in Anambra State, where it will be taken to the racks yesterday, and today they will move down to closer to the polling units, so that by tomorrow 8:30 they will get down to the various polling units, which is about 5,718 polling units in total. Around the INEC office right now, they have been deployed several dogs to also ward off any issue that will arise in that area. When we visited the town, the people are very optimistic, and they said they are ready to participate in the election.
Thank you much, Daniel, for your intervention. Thank you. We'll come back to you fully, perhaps as the sun goes down and expectation goes up as far as the election is concerned. But the head of voter education right here, director, is trying to clarify some issues in terms of information Daniel gave to us.
Yeah, he was saying that they would move to the polling units today.
No, that will be tomorrow. That will be tomorrow morning.
It's the racks. They would move to the racks today. That will take them closer to the polling units, and then they would leave early tomorrow morning for the polling units.
All right, let's go quickly to Oka. Dr. Duru is right there. Doctor, we understand that there's a considerable number of locations in the riverine areas, and in terms of we'll try and reconnect with him. I understand that we're still trying to re-establish connection with Oka. Once we get there, we will know. But in terms of your experience, maybe I'll come back to you, Director. Anambra is unique in terms of its location. There's riverine, there's upland, there are other contiguous states as well. In terms of logistics, have you, experienced some difficulty in terms of access to those riverine areas in the past? And what have you done, in the past and perhaps even now to make sure that those issues are resolved?
Yeah, with regard to providing mobility, transportation for the difficult terrain, the Commission has done an in-depth research on that. 83 boats have been put in place, have been paid for or hired to move men and material to the riverine polling units. There are 124 polling units that are in riverine areas. So there are 83 boats for those. And then even in areas where movement by vehicular movement is difficult, there is also provision for over 6,000 motorcycles that will take men and material as well across to their polling units and back, in addition to the 3,000 vehicles that have been put in place as well, paid for. They have been having, the Commission is closely engaging with NURTW and NARTO, that's the transport owners and then the transport unions, and it has gotten its commitment this time around. The chairman is going to hold them accountable. They have been paid ahead of time, and they have given their promise that they would not do what they are known, or what has been the trend in the past, because a lot is at stake. And
what has been the trend in the past?
When Jide talked about us not going to the polling units on time, mobility not arriving on time, a lot of times is out of the hands of the commission, because the polling staff are there, they are at the racks, and they are stranded. So you make provision for 20 vehicles, for instance, and then the agent comes with 10 vehicles, and so he's having to go in batches, take this group there, come back and pick another group. But that's the committee, the chairman has said, is totally unacceptable this time around. So if we're making provision for 3,000 vehicles, the 3,000 vehicles must be on ground at the racks this night. He insists that those vehicles must sleep at the racks with the drivers, with the personnel, so that in the morning we're not looking for the driver, we're not looking for the vehicles. They are expected to be fully labeled, so that even the personnel know which vehicle that is meant for their polling unit and the location that they are going to.
I think this is a good development. Dr. Duru, if you are there now, we're going to perhaps pick your brains a bit about some of those locations, especially the riverine areas, in terms of hours, minutes, and all. How do you, in your experience, does it take much longer to get to them? And in terms of, voting and then eventually getting the results back, which are those areas that will perhaps experience such and perhaps a delay even in issues of collation because of their distance to the headquarters?
You are right to observe that the state is dynamic in terms of its geography. You have the riverine areas that are located remotely, and they have the uplands. I think you should be talking about local government areas like Anambra West. That local government is bounded by... As a matter of fact, I used to know that to access some of those areas, you needed to cross the River Niger and then get to a town in Asaba, maybe around that Ela, and then cross back to the River Niger before you access them. But I believe all that is in the past. It was because of lack of access roads. And then you may talk about communities in Obaru. Not all of them, but some of them are located inside. Some of them are on the outskirts, close to the boundary with Rivers State. And we all know that those areas have actually posed persistent logistical problems for INEC during elections. And I don't have the statistics to know whether majority of the delays we have had, logistical problems, we actually restricted or we actually experienced in those riverine areas. But all I know is that there have been always complaints, issues arising from movement of materials around that area. And even after elections, at times to even get to the collation centers, they will need more elaborate logistical plans, arrangements, before those things will be done. But one thing I know is that all those issues are not actually strange to INEC. INEC has been organizing this election or elections in Anambra State since 1999, because I believe INEC came on board in 1998 under the presidency of Abubakar. It was INEC that replaced NECON, which Abacha actually put in place. So since that time, they have conducted the election in Anambra, and this should be 26 years. That is a little more than a quarter of a century. So I believe they have actually mastered that terrain. The logistical problems that terrain actually poses, yes, we know that there are special problems. So I believe that INEC must have learned how to also bring about special solutions to deal with those special cases. So I wouldn't see it as an excuse this time around. And INEC is not actually taking that as an excuse, because I know that came up in one of the civil society engagements. And the INEC is saying that they are ready to do the right thing, to do everything necessary to ensure that logistical problems do not arise to derail the election process. And I would like to actually trust the commission.
Well, let me stay with you a little bit, Dr. Duru. You've been in town for a while. Are your sons and daughters from other parts of Nigeria, especially Abuja and Lagos, come home for this exercise? In your experience, have you seen a lot of movement into the state to be part of this exercise?
I know that some people came into the Awka city, the capital territory. Where I was today, I saw some persons talking about their hotel rooms. They came in for election-related engagements. I wouldn't know whether they were voters or they are working for political parties or civil society organizations that are monitoring the elections. But be that as whether I have seen or not, I believe that a lot of persons must have actually come into the state for this election. But I'm surer of persons who have moved from where they live in the cities to go to their home local government areas where they actually registered. I know some people are like that. At least I have seen one or two persons who talked about traveling early enough today in order to be able to cast their ballot. But all in all, I think I love the interest people are showing. But then this is not the first time we are seeing this level of enthusiasm. The only hope that we should express this time is that this enthusiasm should turn or translate into voter turnout by tomorrow.
All right. Thanks very much, Dr. Duru. Director of Voter Education is here. On the election eve like this, what are the final T's and I's that the election management body should be doing to cross in and dotting to make sure that everything tomorrow is spick and span?
So the materials would have been batched before now, the non-sensitive. Yesterday they received the sensitive materials. So the whole of today until when they would move to the racks, the electoral officer would be distributing the ballot papers and the result sheets registration area by registration area to the supervisory presiding officers, the SPOs. And that is the person that would supervise the presiding officers and the assistant presiding officers. So today, by 4 o'clock, the plan was that they should have moved to the racks. And when they get to the racks, the vehicles should be there with them. There's going to be refresher training for the personnel. There's also going to be charging again and final test running or testing of the beavers devices, because the RA Tech personnel will also spend the night at the racks. Every registration area would have an RA Tech as a technical support person. So at the rack today, there's going to be refresher training. They will have a final check of all the materials to confirm that they are complete, the numbers are adequate, and the RA Tech would again also check for the optimal performance of the beavers before they take a rest. And first thing in the morning tomorrow, they all head to the polling units. The chairman is saying and believes that they should be at their polling units an hour before 8:30, so that they have enough time to set up before 8:30 when the voters, they will begin to attend to the voters. All right. So he's truly hoping, and he's really hoping that would improve on our numbers and that we would start on time, that the percentage of polling units that commence at 8:30 as planned would be huge, significantly huge, a far cry from what we have experienced in the past.
All right, talking about numbers, 53% of the registered voters are youths, and 24 hours to the Anambra governorship election, youths in the state have expressed determination to be part of the historic transition to another term of governance in the state. They also have high expectations that the electoral umpire will ensure a free, fair, and credible election. Let's hear this from our own correspondent there, Uchenna Nwekoyo.
With less than a month to Anambra State 2025 governorship election, all classes of the voting population are preparing to be part of the historic event. For the youth, sitting on the fence is not an option. They say they are quite ready to exercise their constitutional rights.
Even if tomorrow I'm going to vote,
but I need my voter's card to be under my reach, under my custody. 3 months ago, they promised that we should come. If you know you don't have any voter's card, you should go to your location, you get it. I went, I did my own. So I'm expecting that voter's card. When I arrive my hand today, even if tomorrow, I'm going and vote.
From that your voter's card, you can make a change within your environment and even yourself. So everybody should come out, the youth especially, because this is I would say, is our weapon. That voter's card is our weapon. Is what we can use and change what we want Anambra to be.
Your power starts now. If you want a credible election, come out and take it with your voter's card, not by violence. With your voter's card, you vote the right person to be in that seat. That's the only thing you can do to achieve the success.
Their expectations are that whoever emerges the winner will continue to drive sustainable development that will lift many out of poverty and improve their standard of living.
This election will not be by violence, but by people mandate. And I'm telling other youth to come out and vote, because your voter's card is your power.
About the INEC, my advice for them is to put in their best and see that everything that is done on the day of the election is done perfectly well, without any mistake, without any fight or commotion that will make the election to be cancelled or be taken to court. Let everything be handled on that same day and treated well. What we are praying for is for peace, a peaceful and fair election.
The youth constitute the larger percentage of the voters in Anambra election, and we hope that this time they will all come out in mass to participate in the electoral process. In Onitsha, Uchenna Nwekoyo, NTA News.
Uchenna Nwekoyo is one of the youths in the state. I don't know whether I'll be able to participate, just like we have said, he's on essential duty tomorrow, but hopefully. Jide, you have just seen some of the interventions from the state and their expectations as well. Even the youths are talking to each other to be a part of this exercise, and we have seen a majority of them pick up, their PVCs as well. With all this, perhaps the numbers you are talking about may at least slightly increase.
Yeah, there's no doubt that the numbers may increase, but let me speak quickly to what Director said. INEC has, Fisa, you possibly read it, the best laid plan by...
is it Sydney Sheridan? I think
yes. Or this guy. Anyway, it's a title of a book, The Best Laid Plan. Now, INEC always have the best laid plan. Implementation has always been an issue. Why did I say so? I want your correspondence, possibly this evening, to go around the RAC centers. Let them go and see whether the situation at the RAC center is humane enough for those core members to sleep there. Many a time when we go to these places, there is no light, no water, no beddings, and these are core members from different parts of the country. You want them to come and sleep in darkness and sometimes without security? No. That's why some of them find a way not to stay there. And in the morning, because the restriction of movement will have kicked in, they now will find it extremely difficult to go to their RAC center. I hope INEC can start thinking under Professor Amukpito, can start thinking, how can they make the RAC center habitable? Because they usually use schools, public schools. Now, these public schools, the shutters, they may be in a very dilapidating condition. And when you mobilize people to go and stay there for the night, people who are prone to sickness may find it excusable why they cannot go there to stay. So it's one thing to plan to say we will activate the RAC center by 4 p.m. today. I hope media personnel, journalists covering this election can visit some of the RAC centers to see whether they're actually activated and what is the status, what is the situation at those RAC centers, because it's very key. You want everybody there, but they must have security, they must have toilet facilities, there must be water, there should be, you know, even though they will be paid their meal allowance or logistics. So if the rec centers are unhabitable, then it will dovetail into many of those who are supposed to stay the night there, not going there, and then coming late in the morning. And then one thing is for the personnel, INEC staff to be at the rec center, for the vehicles to be there, but she knows that they cannot move except the police are there. It's against the guideline to just take it upon yourself and say, we are running late, we are going. The police must escort you out of that place for fear of violence, fear of being hijacked. So it's a trinity. Mm-hmm. It's a trinity. So if INEC staff endured the inhumane situation they may face, I'm not saying they will face, they may face, there are no beddings, no lights, no water, and stuff like that. But maybe out of patriotic zeal, they said we will stay. We will make ourselves lively till the following day. They don't forget, they're also supposed to use the night to charge the beavers, to charge their phones, to charge so many things. So if there's no light there, it creates a problem. But assuming all of that is there, so the guys are there, the vendors have brought the vehicles, the exact number, but the policemen who are supposed to escort them out of that place are there doing parade at 8 a.m. and taking numbers and then thinking of which vehicle will also convey them or where they are supposed to go and police. Because these are supposed to be seamless and synergical enterprise. So if by now the full complement of police that will escort materials out of every rack should be there, they should sleep with those boys and girls, and then with the vehicles there, and then with the INEC staff there. The Trinity, once they moved from there, it will be a seamless. There is nowhere they want to go within that precinct of the ward that they cannot get to within 30 minutes. So it is an ideal thing to have this plan, but let's hope that it's fully implemented. And let's also hope that youth will use social media, WhatsApp groups, and also their chat box, their Twitter handles. They will use their TikTok to mobilize themselves. The way they mobilize for Aluta, the way they mobilize for protest, let them also mobilize and say the future of Anambra is in our hands. If Soludo has done well, let them reward him with a re-election. If he has not done well, tomorrow stands at the stands at the threshold to vote him out. That is the beauty of democracy. But the mobilization should not be left to the INEC, should not be left to the civil society. INEC and civil society have done their bit. National orientation agencies have done their bit. The political parties still have the golden opportunity to mobilize. They cannot campaign, but they can tell their colleagues, their party members, go and vote. That is not campaigning. The campaign has stopped since yesterday. So if all of these are done, I believe, and I'm very hopeful, that there will be significant improvement in turnout tomorrow.
All right, another aspect of it, of course, is the issue of access for persons with disabilities. INEC, over time, continue to provide assistive devices for them to be a part of the exercise. Some elderly persons are participating also in tomorrow's election. But let's first talk to the issue of persons with disabilities. And our correspondent right there on the screen, Onome Okadigbo, is ready for us in Oka to talk about this special group of people. Onome Okadigbo looks a little small, but with a big name there, talking about that particular name. So tell us a little bit about what is happening in your corner of the state.
Hey, Fisayo, thank you. We caught up with some heads of clusters of persons living with disability, and they have expressed satisfaction to some certain level that INEC has lived up to its responsibilities of the mandate given to them through the Electoral Act of 2022 as amended, Section 54, Section 1,
and 2, subsection 1 and 2, that says that they are mandated to provide assistive tools to persons living with disabilities. So actually they have provided all these tools to the 21 local government area of the state. And we also caught up with some non-governmental organizations and civil society organizations that says they have deployed personnel to all the polling units to monitor and ensure that persons living with disabilities are part of the electoral process.
Thank you very much. Of course, we've been monitoring some of these exercises, but have you been able to ascertain in terms of even being able to use those assistive devices? There's one thing for them to be available, but in terms of instruction and how they can be devised, I mean, they can be used and deployed. Have you been able to interact with any of people in that community to see if there have been some sensitization in terms of the usage of those devices?
Fisayo, we have met the persons living with disabilities, especially heads of different clusters. We have those that are visually impaired, those that have hearing impairment, albinism. So they said they have had series of town hall meeting, workshop, trainings, and they have had a mock test to ensure that they can use it on that day, and when they go there, they will be able to use those things provided.
Mark Okadibo, good answers. Of course, you know, anytime you mention your name, I remember the rhetorics of Mazi Chuba of blessed memory. Thank you very much for your interventions.
Thank you so much.
All right, so let's move on as we get closer to the final moments of the program, of course, the final hour of preview of the Anambra elections. This is a key moment for your organization, the INEC, Independent National Electoral Commission. We had Professor Mahmoud Yakubu for years now, telling us about the improvements in terms of technology and all that. A new helmsman is in the saddle at this time. You have had some briefings with him, and it is enthusiasm to make sure that the processes continue to improve. But there's concept and there's actuality. There's a bridge between the two. Being able to bring those concepts on board is beyond passing the examination in the class. This is now dealing with human beings, men and materials. With some of the interactions you've had, will INEC tell us confidently that tomorrow they will get a pass mark? And some of us have worked in JAMB.
We must. We can't afford not to get a pass mark, because it won't augur well for us, which is why even he, the Honorable Chairman, he says he's worried, and which is why he has read the Riot Act to both staff and vendors, that nobody should drop the ball. For staff, he has said there must be accountability. There will be reward and there will be punishment. So he's actually putting everything in place just to encourage and ginger anyone that has a role to play to do their job as efficiently as they can. A lot depends on it. Many people are likely to judge or assess him based on the outcome of the election, which may not be very fair, because he came towards the end of the exercise. Basically, everything had been put in place before he assumed office. So it's really not going to be fair on him, and that is why we hope and pray that it goes out well, so that it does not put a dent on him. But from the little interaction we have had so far, I think he's going to hit the ground running. He's doing a lot of catching up, studying, understanding how everything works within the commission. So I'm sure once we're done with Anambra election, Nigerians will tend to know him better and know what he stands for. But for those of us who have interacted with him, I think we're in good hands.
All right, we've had Professor Maurice Iwu, we've had Professor Tairu Jega, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, now Professor Joash Amupiton, professors of different caliber, of different disciplines. But we have also had some professors of rigging in this country who continue to manipulate the process, and that's why we've had a lot of post-election litigations. Jide, are you confident? There is a new man in the saddle, but some of the players remain old and very experienced on this terrain.
Fiscal, I'm confident. Something happened early this year. Victoria will testify to it. It's very unprecedented since 1999 for government to remove any resident electoral commissioner for misdemeanor or for sabotage or for undermining the process. Remember, 3 resident electoral commissioners were removed this year, arising from their undermining the electoral process in 2023. The president wrote to the Senate and said, I'm seeking your approval to remove these 3. The former rec of Adamawa, who usurped the power of the returning officer to go and make a declaration that he doesn't have the power to make. And he was a lawyer. Oh, he's a lawyer. He's a lawyer. Not that he was. He's a lawyer. The one in Sokoto, that they made $49,700 in his house in Kano. The court just granted final forfeiture of that sum after his removal anyway. He's a doctor. He's a doctor. The third one was Abia.
They have collected it from some of the patients who was treating.
The third one was Abia Rec, who also tried to manipulate. Remember the VC of Futo. The VC of Futo, who was a returning officer, said she was put under immense pressure to make a wrong call, and she rebuffed. Eventually, that man has also been removed. Then we had a professor of social science from Unica, or the University of Uyo, who is serving a jail term now. The Court of Appeal has upheld his conviction. So we need to build on this. It should be carrot and stick. You know, in time past, because you help a ruling government to rig election, you be condoned. But now, these 3 examples that President Bola Tinubu has set, where he has relieved them. You know, INEC as a commission does not have power to sack because they were not the appointer. But they suspended them, wrote to the presidency upheld it, and now their names have gone into the black book. I'm not sure any of their children will be proud of what their parents or what their father did. So it is catching up. The moment those who are deployed for tomorrow's election knows if they drop the ball or they are indicted for fraud, because what has also happened, which we cannot look away, was that politicians always try to induce electoral officers, induce poll officials. We saw that even in the August 16 by-election that took place in Ogun State, 2 INEC officials were caught going to an hotel to collect bribe. I don't know what has become of them. There was also in Kano where they said an agent was caught with huge sums of money. So the bottom line is, let due process be followed. Whether it's an INEC staff, whether it's a poll agent, whether it's a candidate or party chieftain, or even security agents. The moment there is a sanction that is known, everybody will start to sit tight that, hey, this thing I want to do. Because you can't put it away from politicians who always want to resort to self-help. Yeah. Remember the saying, Machiavellian politics, Machiavellian principle of the end justifies the means. Let me just win at all costs. Then the loser can go to court. But the moment their paradigm shifts, and INEC officials, whether they are ad hoc or permanent staff, are no longer available to help you to rig election. Remembering that they can be caught, they can be sent to prison, like that professor, or relief of their position like those of those resident electoral commissioners, then you will think twice. Then you will look for alternatives to, you know that you have to campaign and do your job to win fair and square. The other thing that needs to be said tomorrow is that INEC, people have asked me, as if I work for INEC, I don't work for INEC. People have asked me about IREF, whether IREF will function very well tomorrow. And I said, from all the off-cycle governorship election we've had, IREF has been functioning optimally. At least for those we have had, this is about the 5th now since 2023. Remember, we've had Imo, Bayelsa, Kogi, then we have had Edo and Ondo. Now we are having the 6th one, which is Anambra, and then there will be 2 next year, Ekiti and Osun.
3,
so,
FCT.
Off-cycle governorship. Then, of course, FCT in February next year. So what I'm saying is that RF has been performing, and we just hope that all the needed test run, as the director has said, has been done, that tomorrow, even if you are in the Anambra, you cannot make it home, you can follow the uploading of the result by logging into that, using your email to log into RF portal and follow through as the result gets uploaded. But I need to sound a caveat. People should know that IRF is not a collation database.
Yeah.
It is not meant for collation. It's not going to tell you this is the person who have won, this is the person who have lost. It's just an integrity enhancing device. It's not known to, that's why you won't see any section of the electoral that speaks to it. It's just a device that INEC of its own accord in 2021, the first test run it in Nasarawa by-election, that, okay, they want to carry the people along so that they know what's happening. So if you are interested to know what the performance on the field is, you can then log in and start downloading as the results are getting uploaded. So people should not mistake a IRF portal for a collation portal, because I've warned people, things can change. Assuming there is a dispute about a particular ballot paper or about a result, you know INEC as the collation officer can review results that have been declared at the polling unit. Sometimes there is a dispute as to, oh, this particular ballot paper was completed for this party, or there was more, so there could be argument. So if that person is forced to upload that result, and then it gets to the collation center and explain to the collation officer, the collation officer can take a decision. Aside from that, Fisayo, I need to also say that this Anambra election is the first time INEC will be using its own official guideline on Section 65 of the Electoral Act. What does Section 65 of the Electoral Act say? It says that INEC can review results that have already been declared by the returning officer within 7 days.
I will return to you just now, but let me quickly join Ngozi Okikearu. She's been waiting. Ngozi, tell us about the preparation of the residents with just a few hours to the election. Ngozi, can you hear me? You can go ahead, please.
Thank you. Oka is ready. Residents are prepared. They said they have their PVCs ready and are ready to exercise their franchise. In fact, from my interaction with residents of Oka, the capital city, Amobia, Enugu, and adjoining cities in the metropolis, they were expressing readiness for the exercise. I also asked those that complained about a few things on what they intend to do. Some said they will be, only that they are afraid of what may happen about security situation. So I had to encourage that INEC, the security agencies are ready for them, that there will be a peaceful process. If they had listened to the assurances that nothing is expected short of a peaceful and credible process. Also, they expressed their optimism that INEC would stick to the Electoral Act 2022, which they assured they will use in this election to ensure the election's credibility and accountability. So all is said, the residents are enthusiastic about the process coming up tomorrow, and we really hope to see them come out as they have assured that their PVCs are ready, and they have, like I interacted with some women too, traders, business women, they are sure that they have put their homes in order so there won't be gap from home front that will distract them from doing what they are supposed to do. So if what they assured is something to go by, it means there will be an improvement from 10.27% low turnout experienced in 2021 governorship election. So the assurances, we believe, will be an improvement from what will happen tomorrow.
Thank you very much, Ngozi Okeke-Aru. I love the data you gave to us because you spoke about the women, because the PVCs collected showed that 58% are females, while 42 are males. Many of them were in the shop while PVCs were being collected. But let's quickly go to our next report. Some elderly persons who are participating in tomorrow's election are urging INEC and other stakeholders to accord them priority during the polls to enable them perform their civic duties. Let's listen to their views.
Expect them to respect me, give me that honor. Voting first before the younger ones. And the younger generation, let us now to follow our footsteps, not to misbehave or do anything that will cause trouble.
The younger ones will like to vote also. They will like to rush, but you know the elderly cannot rush. So I'm begging the INEC officials to make a space for the elderly ones to take care of them.
I'd like to have a chair and sit down until all the materials come in. The INEC official will come in too. If the queue is too long, what I expect them to do is to take the old men and vote, and then so that they'll go.
Treat us as normal. Every time they lead us first, we go and vote and go home. So I wish they will take the election day like that. It will be, because we can't be struggling with that younger ones. We won't have strength.
We want the elders to play their roles by educating other people appropriately and by safeguarding even the INEC staff that will be at their polling unit to work, especially these youth corps members. They are our children.
In our climb, the younger ones ought to give the elder ones preference so that they will go and do the needful then and go back, so that we'll not hear of somebody fainting or losing breath. My expectations from INEC that they're going to do the right thing. You know, once the head is correct, other body will follow. If INEC is correct, the electorate will do the needful.
All right, we would come to the issues of elderly just like they have raised with the director. But let me quickly go to Oka for the closing thoughts of Dr. Duru. Dr. Duru, you've been here all day. Thank you very much for this time. You are not one of the elderly ones, but let me give you the opportunity to give us the closing remarks first. Your expectations for tomorrow and general analysis before we let you go. Dr. Duru.
Thank you very much. As I've said before, the election that we are going to have tomorrow, our hope is that things turn out better than we saw in the last exercise in terms of voter turnout, in terms of performance of INEC, especially in relation to election logistics. And also, we expect even more from security agencies, even though we know that the electoral space is a very complex sphere when it comes to security, at least in Nigeria. We expect more from them so that at the end of tomorrow, we can confidently say that we have actually taken a step further where we were when the last exercise was conducted.
Thank you, Dr. Duru. Tomorrow we expect you to do your duty. All right, so very shortly, of course, we will be going to our closing remarks, of course, but finally, the elderly ones said something in, our last report. They want to be given priority, naturally because of their, frail constitution at the moment and, coming and staying all day in the hot sun at this period. Are you putting those into consideration? And also, maybe pregnant women and all that. Are we going to see that being done, priority being given to this, set of people?
Yeah, it is clearly stated in INEC's guidelines for elections, and poll officials are trained on that to ensure that priority is given to the vulnerable, the elderly, the persons with disability, pregnant women. Normally, what the guidelines states is that there should be a separate queue for them. So they are not supposed to join the queue of the others, all the others. There is a queue for the vulnerable. And once the poll official sees that there is anyone on that queue, priority attention must be given so that they do what they came to the polling unit to do and they go back as soon as possible.
All right, Jide Ojo, sometimes I've even seen in some, societies, you see the elderly. They are earlier than most, seated and ready to go. This, of course, that generation seems to take some of this exercise more seriously than the other generation, and they are quite. They ask the key questions. If you go to the as a reporter, when you approach the polling units, you see that they are the ones who engage the officials more in terms of the process and trying to make sure they get it right. And I think the process should also recognize, this set of people, not only because of their age, but naturally as opinion leaders in many of these, societies.
Of course, as the director said, they do get that honor of being on the priority list. They do not need to queue, and they are accorded the respect that is due to them. And you see, I earlier referred to best laid plans. And this is another thing I need to emphasize. I do hope that all ad hoc staff, particularly the presiding officers and the 3 assistant presiding officers who will be helping him or her out, have been well trained to know. Because sometimes, Fisa, my experience on the field has been that sometimes you make provision, something is in the guideline, but they claim they don't know. Sometimes, you earlier referenced that INEC has been providing assistive devices. INEC will provide magnifying glasses, will provide braille ballot. But as observer, you get to a polling unit and they say, no, we are not giving. They didn't give us. Meanwhile, it's in the bag. It's in the bag. And there you have people who are in need of it that you should actually administer it to. And then it takes an observer to start reminding you, why don't you check your bag? Maybe it's in there. So, okay, it's there. Oh, I can find it here. You understand? So, and something used to happen where those who have been trained, sometimes, not all the time, sometimes get replaced last minute. And then you bring in somebody who was not part of the training. Maybe as a way of helping your cronies and all of that. So I hope that the commission will frown on such, and where it happens, if it does, that whoever superintends over that, whether it's a electoral officer or assistant electoral officer, should get punished. Because these are, election is a chain.
Yeah.
A chain is as strong as its weakest point. Many a time you blame the INEC chairman. Oh, this man, that man. Is it the one that will go on the field? Your guy said there are how many polling units? 5,718. How many can, even now, INEC is deploying 10 resident electoral commissioners and 4 national commissioners. But they can only go to a fraction of that 5,718. They cannot go to every of the places. So, but that is the reason why there are supervisory presiding officers, electoral officers. It's a concentric circle. And you should know when you have issues, you can escalate it. Professor Mukwiton will just be in situation room tomorrow here in Abuja, monitoring what is going on the field. And it's what you brief him that he gets to know. So if nobody drops the ball and everybody acts and do their bit as encapsulated in the electoral law, in the guidelines for this election, everything will go well. The plans are always well made. Even this rack center I was talking about, there are provisions for INEC to provide generator, power generator. They buy GP tanks to provide water for those. But what if somebody is giving the money to buy those things and he refuses to buy? If you don't hold him to account and say, you are giving money to supply this or to buy this, where is it? That's why you need to properly monitor, supervise, and ask questions. Proper accountability is how we can help improve credibility of elections.
All right, but I'm not sure this will be the forum for this, but looking forward, especially when we get to the general elections, every year you train UCO members for elections like this. They finish the service, they go and are employed somewhere. Do you have a register, for instance, for those who performed outstandingly well, to invite back, for instance, so that the base of competence is not lost? As you keep on training new ones, you will see some people who have perhaps gone to centers you knew that were problematic, ab initio, but have gone and have done exceedingly well, congratulated by all the agents and all that. Do you have them in your register to help in some of these, elections, to call back for just to undo some of these things? Some of them are magicians with some of these beavers things, and you just let them, after they finish their NYC and all that. Do you have them in your register, for instance, to bring some of them back when you have?
The Institute tried putting that together at some point, and I think operations also has, but the issue of synergy, working interdepartmental synergy may be the issue. But another problem is the fact that once they finish serving, they pass out, and they could leave that location. They go back to their base where their parents are. So you really, they can not be of help to you in the current location. Yes, maybe the location that they are relocating to, we may need them during the general election. But we're still trying to fine-tune that. We don't have a perfect register, as I speak, of those who have passed out. It's something we're working on. It's work in progress. So let me not say that we have the register. But we started working on it, but there were issues at some point.
Because when interface with technology, sometimes you see, especially in the private sector, they will look at how you performed with this technology and keep you in the database in case of some of these.
And some of them, once they pass out, they may just not be interested.
Yes, but you have to offer them. If you offer them, maybe they can still be interested.
Okay, let's now look at the nitty-gritty of tomorrow, and for instance, what INEC will be expecting from the voter. Starting from the voter. Perhaps a first-time voter is watching this program. When you expect them to arrive, what will happen when they arrive, what their expectations are supposed to be, when they should wait, when they will vote, when counting will be done. Let's go through the gamut of the expectation or what is expected of the voter tomorrow, especially those who might be doing this for the first time.
So we're hoping that the poll officials would be at their polling units before an hour before 8:30 in order for them to set up. Yeah, poll commences at 8:30, but it also doesn't mean that the voters should turn up at 8:30. Sometimes I've been to the last election I monitored, voters were around before 8:30 and they already were forming a queue. So once the poll officials arrive, part of the things that they do under setting up is pasting a copy of the voter register on the wall. So there are two sets of register of voters. The one that the assistant presiding officer would use for the manual accreditation and the one that will be pasted on the wall. So once a voter comes to the polling unit, you go to the wall and you check and search for your name. Once you find your name, you take note of your serial number so that by the time you are coming for to vote, the assistant presiding officer too would not have to start searching endlessly. You just tell her your serial number and then she goes there. So once you've checked your number, your name on the register that is pasted on the wall, you come back to the queue. The first person you meet is the assistant presiding officer 3, whom you would show your PVC to, your permanent voter's card, for him or her to confirm that that PVC belongs to that polling unit. Once the PVC belongs to the polling unit, then you are on course to be on the queue. And once it is your turn, you're directed to the assistant presiding officer 1, who is the person handling the beavers. And so you're authenticated and accredited using the beavers. And once that is done, that's your accreditation is done, or the accreditation is done using your facials or your biometrics. It's either your fingerprints. If they're able to capture it, that's fine. If your fingerprint is posing a problem, then your facials would be used. Either of them must work because the device has been optimized. And so once you are accredited, then you are now directed to the APO2, who is the person that has the manual register, the second copy now, and then he or she would tick against your name. Because at the end of the exercise, the register would be matched with the data captured in the beavers to be sure that the figures tally. So once your name is ticked on the register, then you're directed to the presiding officer who has the ballot papers, and you'll be issued a ballot paper. Then you move to the cubicle to thumbprint in secret against the party of your choice, and you fold your ballot paper appropriately, and then you come out and drop it in the ballot box. Once you do that, you can leave. But for those who want to monitor or observe the exercise to the end, then they will need to move away some distance. It says 300 meters, even though we know that there are some polling units that do not have 300 meters apart between them. But you just move some distance and you can watch the process to the end. And so that goes on from 8:30 to 2:30. And once it is 2:30, nobody joins the queue again. But anyone that is already on the queue will be allowed to vote. Once voting ends, then we'll begin to sort and count. And when the sorting and counting is done, the votes are imputed into the result sheet, that is EC8A. And when that is done, when the presiding officer is done with that, the party agents who are around are invited to endorse on the result sheet. But their refusal to endorse does not invalidate the result. You're just invited. If you choose not to, if you feel aggrieved, it's fine. And after that is done, then the presiding officer will now take a screenshot of the result, and that is what is uploaded to the IREV. It's at that point that that picture is taken and it is uploaded to the IREV. And before the presiding officer leaves the polling unit, he or she would also have completed the EC60E poster, which is the result poster, and you paste it on the wall at the polling unit, so that even if I wasn't around during voting and I come later in the day, in the evening, I should find that EC60E on the wall, and it will tell me what happened at that polling unit, what party scored what votes. And once that is done, then they move on to the collation, the RA Collation Center.
What you are saying, Madam Director, is no beavers, PVC, no voting.
No PVC, no voting. No beavers. Beavers is mandatory, yes. There must be accreditation using beavers. That is what the guideline says. There is no bypass to that.
No bypass to that. So
yes,
all those manual that leads to overvoting.
No. That is illegal and unacceptable.
Jide, you want to perhaps interject?
Now, this is where I would like to chip in, aside from what Madam Director has said. In my experience on the field, many a time, a party or a candidate will win at a polling unit and everybody start jubilating that he has won. No. There are 5,718
polling units.
Until when you have aggregated all the results, that's when you know the winner. And that's why sometimes out of mischief, some people say, but he won. He won in my polling unit. He won in my ward. He won in my local government. And so what? There are 21 local government. There are 326 words. So the fact that somebody has won in your polling unit, has won in your ward, has won in your local government, has even won in your senatorial zone, does not make him the overall winner. Fisayo, this is an opportunity for me to educate the public. For you to be declared winner of tomorrow's election, you must win minimum of 25% of valid vote cast in 2/3 of the entire polling unit.
Yeah.
I mean, 2/3 of the local government,
which is 21.
Which is
what is it? 21 local governments. So
21 local government. So what I'm saying invariably is that somebody can win in your polling unit, can win in your ward, can win in your local government, can win in your senatorial zone and still lose. So 25% of valid votes in 2/3 of the local government. If you don't miss that threshold, you cannot be declared winner.
Yeah.
So before anybody will go to town and say, INEC has rigged this election. See. He won, no, he won. Yes, he won. If he wins majority, but the majority of votes that he won falls short of that threshold of 25% in 2/3, that election will be declared inconclusive. And that means there will be a runoff. So people must prepare their mind for eventuality before they go to that, because this is the era of social media. You start, by this time tomorrow, you start seeing all manner of results flying all over everywhere. The social media. Hey, our man has won. Hey, I was in Edo. Do you know what happened in Edo? As at the time I was leaving back to Abuja in the morning, a particular party has already started jubilating that they have won. And that party eventually lost. And then what came out? They said, oh, we were rigged out. But you see, the fact that you won in a particular senatorial district or more, unless the total aggregate is, and that's why I'm seeking this opportunity to warn people, when you go on IREF, download the result, unless you have been able to do the total tally of all the uploaded results, that's when you have a fair idea, and that's not to say it's official until the INEC returning officer, and that is the person who is authorized, not even the resident electoral commissioner. You know, in time past, it's the REC that declares the result. Remember the era of Ayoka Adebayo in Ekiti, you know, where until 2010, it was the resident electoral commissioner that also doubles as a returning officer. But that has since changed under Jega. So it's now an independent person, perhaps a vice chancellor of a university or a professor from one of the tertiary institutions outside of the state where election is being held, that usually gets appointed, and that is the person who has been authorized to make a return. A return is when you make a declaration of a winner. That's when you make a return. And as I was saying before, you cut me short, there is now a section 65 of the electoral 2022, which INEC has decided to operationalize if the situation warrants. And what that section 65 says is that within 7 days of a returning officer making a declaration, if in the eye of the commission a wrong call has been made, they can activate that section and review the result before you go to tribunal. In time past, before 2022 Electoral Act, it was that once a returning officer makes a declaration, it's only the tribunal that can overturn him or her. But now that section 65 has been there, and it has been operationalized in Kano. I recall in one federal constituency in Kano where the returning officer said, I made this return under duress. And the commission overruled the declaration and went back and conducted supplementary election before final declaration was made.
All right, before we come for closing remarks, we'll go back to Onitsha. Franklin is back with us, and it's night time now in Onitsha, and I can see that the city is still very much alive behind you. Tell us what is happening in the mood, as far as the mood is concerned. Looking at the time now, it's just about almost 5 hours to lockdown. So tell us a bit about what is happening in your location before we come back to wrap up.
So the mood in Onitsha, we have moved from the Onitsha main market to this place, as at this time the Onitsha main market is under lock and key and people are returning from the market. Right now we are standing by the 33 Nkwelezunaka Onitsha Road by Federal Housing Estate Gate. People are returning from the market. The road is busy. We saw security personnel. They are patrolling major streets and roads, making sure that everything is in order. And the people here, the people we spoke to, they say they are ready to perform their civic duties tomorrow. And I have some of them with me here. They are so enthusiastic. They want to talk to us about their preparedness. Can we talk to you, please? Don't worry, come. So how prepared are you to vote tomorrow?
We are preparing tomorrow about the election and other things. So everything will move fine.
Okay.
Now,
you have your voter's card?
Yes, I'm with my voter's card. Now, another thing is that it's not that to vote. We need a good somebody. We, make the state to be organized and others.
All right, that is in your right. Yeah, tomorrow, you do that with your votes. Yeah. We have another person who will talk to us about her preparedness. Tell us your name.
Hello, my name is Mrs. Miriam. Okay, I'm a proprietress. So I'm very much ready. My fingers are crossed. I know the best candidate will win. So we are all praying to God that it will move very well, smoothly. And with the environment, the atmosphere, we know that it will be a successful election tomorrow. I have my card, my voter's card, with me. So I'm moving to my polling booth tomorrow morning, so excited that it will be so successful. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. You can see the mood of the people here in Onitsha. I have another person. He wants to talk to us. They are so eager. Onitsha people are so eager to vote tomorrow.
Hello, guys. Good evening. Wow. My name is Frank. Okay, I just got back for this voter stuff, and I've heard so much about it. It is high time we stand up on our right to take what rightfully belongs to us. And your voter's card can go a long way with that. If you have your voter's card alongside with you, you can vote anybody in and take anybody out. So I urge you, Anambra State members, wherever you are around the world in this Anambra State, get your voter's card ready and let's do what is right. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. You can see from the people we have talked to, Onitsha people are very, very ready to perform their civic duties tomorrow. It's back to you, the studio.
Thank you very much, Franklin. You spoke to Frank, who spoke frankly. Thank you so much. All right, before we go, of course, let's just give you some numbers. 2,802,790 registered voters. Number of collected PVCs, 2,769,137. Anything above that is overvoting. And then, of course, number of uncollected PVCs, 33,653. Looking at the percentage, 98.80% PVC percentage of collected PVCs to registered voters. Outstanding results by INEC this time around. But we are now waiting for the voters tomorrow. Final words on the show.
We hope that our effort would yield positive outcome. We have done a lot of sensitization. We have tried to improve on our logistics arrangements. We have tried to be transparent in all our doings. We have engaged widely, and we just hope that, as the new chairman has said, that Anambrarians would own this process, that they will take this opportunity to decide who their leader would be in the next 4 years, that it wouldn't be a case of 10% of the electorate determining who would lead them, but let it be majority of Anambrarians. You just read out the figures, 98% of PVCs collected, so we don't expect anything less or short of from Anambrarians. We expect that the enthusiasm that they showed in collecting the PVCs, they would also show the same enthusiasm in turning up tomorrow to vote.
Joe, the fellowship between the thumb and the ballot paper will be reenacted tomorrow in cities across Anambra. Final expectation before we close shop.
Thank you, Fisayo. Anambrarians, or in the Anambra, the ball is in your court. you have another opportunity to decide the fate of who will be in the government house tomorrow. I want us to be orderly. I want us to shun vote buying or
vote trading.
Don't engage in vote trading. And mobilize your neighbors, all of you who have registered. Let's see a remarkable change in voters' turnout tomorrow. INEC has promised us that all plans will be seamlessly implemented. The director has walked us through the processes of voting. Once the poll officials are there early enough and the security provides cover and the bad boys are taken out, even in Yala. But there's something I heard, I don't know whether that is true, maybe director will, that people in Yala will vote at the local government.
Yes.
Okay, that means it's not going to be...
In those 6 areas, the violence-prone, where they have issues, I think there are 6 areas, they will vote at the local government secretariat.
So it's also an opportunity for people in Yala to know that you have to go to the local government INEC local government office to vote tomorrow. It's good that we put this out there so that you don't go to your ward or go to polling units, go to the ward, to the local government INEC office. That is for only a year, but for others, it's going to be at the polling unit level. I wish in the Anambra the best. Let the best candidates win. That's why there's plurality of contestation. 16 candidates. If the incumbent is not doing well, it's an opportunity to vote him out. If he has done well, it's an opportunity to reward him with a re-election.
All right, from the Sadet villages and towns around Oka to the automobile cities in Inewi and, of course, the bustling trade venues of Onitsha, all will be coming out tomorrow again to say who and what party will lead the destination of state for the next 4 years. NTA weather stations in Onitsha and Oka and our reporters spread across the 21 local governments will be giving us live reports throughout tomorrow. Studio opens at 9. Of course, we'll be giving you tweets already before then. My name is Fisai Ogunfi, urging you to be on Africa's finest and largest for Anambra elections and other programs on the network service of Nigerian Television Authority. You know where deal is happening. But between now and, of course, tomorrow when we return, we'll keep it locked on the Nigerian Television Authority for news reviews, previews and interviews. Have a good night.